I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you a story that you've probably already heard before. In fact, this story has been read and talked about many, many times over hundreds of years. There have been books written about it and movies made about it. I've heard lots of people talk about what they think this story means, and sometimes they can just go on and on and on for hours. But because we only have a few minutes here, I'd like to keep the meaning of this story, or parable, since it's one of Jesus' most well-known parables, nice and simple. I think a lot of what Jesus says in the Gospels is simple enough that even a child can understand what it means. So let's picture Jesus here standing on the edge of the Sea of Galilee, getting ready to address a large crowd. So many people wanted to hear what he had to say that he had to get into one of those little boats there and push off a little bit from the land. The reflection of his voice bouncing off the water probably helped amplify it to reach the large crowd that had gathered there. So here's the parable. Imagine a farmer went out to plant his field. Now it just so happened that as he sowed some of his seed, some of it fell on the edge of the path, and the birds came and ate it up. And some of the seed fell on rocky ground where it found a little soil, and at once it sprang up, but because there was no depth of earth where it was planted, and when the sun came up the next day it was scorched, and not having any root it withered away and died. And then some of the seed fell into thorns, and the thorns grew up around it and choked it, and it produced no crop. But thankfully some of the seed fell on rich soil, and it grew tall and strong, and produced a crop that yielded 30, 60, and even 100-fold. Now, after Jesus told this short, simple story about planting seed, he said this, which brings us to our Bible verse for the day, Mark chapter 4, verse 9. He said that if anyone had ears to listen, then they should listen. The King James Version of this verse says, "And he said unto them, He that hath ears to hear, let him hear." And so he went ahead and explained the meaning of what this parable was. He explained that the sower is sowing the Word of God. The people on the edge of the path where the Word was sown are people who listen, who no sooner hear it, but then Satan comes and carries the Word away. Jesus goes on to say that the seed, or the Word of God, that was sown on patches of rock are people who, when they first hear the Word, welcome it right away, and they're happy when they hear it. But because they have no root deep down, as soon as some big problem comes their way, or persecution or ridicule on account of the Word, they fall away too. And then there's the Word that was sown in the thorns. These are the people who have heard the Word, but the worries of the world and the attraction of riches and all the other passion come in and choke it, and therefore it produces nothing. And then finally, there's the Word that was sown in rich soil. These are the people who hear the Word of God and accept it and yield a harvest, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100-fold. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. What did Jesus really mean when he said that? We all have ears. We can all hear. You're hearing what I'm saying right now. There are millions of people around the world who hear the words of Jesus, who hear the words of God, but it affects them differently. You see, people are divided into these categories: those who let the Word take root in their lives and bear fruit, and those who, for one reason or another, hear the Word and don't allow it to take root. How have the words of Jesus affected your life? Have you allowed them to grow and bear the kind of fruit that Jesus was talking about? Is your life filled with love for God and for your fellow man? If it is, then you are full of that rich soil Jesus was talking about, and you're going to bear lots of wonderful fruit in your life. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. And that is our Bible verse for today. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another verse for the day.